episode of Mind Over Masculinity, the podcast where we talk about what it really means to be strong, to lead, and to show up as men in a world that doesn't always give us permission to be human. So, today's guest is the perfect blend of tech wizard, strategic leader, and the human first mentor. So he has scaled startups like from half a million uh, and like to $50 million, I would say. So I led teams through chaos in clarity, raised over $150 million, and built AI products powering Fortune 100 companies. But what sets him apart isn't just his track record, but it's the heart and humility that he brings to the work. So he is a fractional CTO, entrepreneur, mentor, and all around builder of high performance teams. And today we are going deep on how embracing vulnerability, emotional intelligence, and the mental health awareness is the secret superpower in the tech world. So please help me welcome the incredible Balki Kotarapu. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Avik. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for that kind introduction. It did sound a bit masculine, but I can assure you I'm not that masculine. So as we talk through this podcast, you'll see my various other sides as a human. It's not just raising millions of dollars and running large.
Lovely. So that's definitely $1 million. I'll not say question, but it's $1 million uh, pointer. I mean, definitely to start with, and so listeners should be aware that okay, today with whom we are having a discussion. So that's amazing. So, huh. So definitely on this, I love to ask you like you have led teams through some of the intense scaling moments like $500,000 to $50 million is definitely not a joke for sure, but leadership at that level isn't just the technical, it's deeply human. So how did embracing vulnerability shift the way you lead? What do you say?
Yeah, yeah. So, and just to clarify, I worked and led teams at different stages in different companies. So far, I haven't done that exponential from 500K to 50 million. So I came in at 500, went to 5
Yeah.
million, another company that came in at 10, and we reached 50 million, etc. So, uh, but like, as you can tell, I've experienced those intense stages of growth. So I wanted to clarify that. In terms of vulnerability, yeah, I mean it's an important aspect. It's sort of embedded in my style of leadership to admit when I don't know something, right? So when I first became a manager, I used to listen to a podcast called Manager Hyphen Tools. I don't know if you came across that, Avik. It was probably one of the first podcasts ever, especially for leaders. It was a couple of these very funny but vulnerable coaches that ran this podcast, and they covered a different topic each week. I was just getting started as a team lead then, but it all of those concepts resonated with me. Like I was in a large company where it was all top down. Whatever the bosses said in their corner office, everybody had to implement. And I started my career as a leader in that type of today it might be even called toxic, right? Where the bosses tell you what to do. I thought that was the only way to manage and lead teams, but I stumbled on that podcast, and I would say like they pretty much brainwashed me that there's a different way to lead teams. And among several topics was being vulnerable, right? So admit to when you don't know the answer, which is more than half the time in my case. Even though I have 20 years of experience now, 10 years is in the weeds, working on code every day. And the remaining 10 years was leading other high performance teams and individuals. Half the time when I come to the table, I don't know the answer. Um, and I've realized that for me to be true to myself and to the people around me, vulnerability was one of the key things. And another small dimension or another dimension to that is also um, leading with context. It's been super helpful for me when I come to the table with a suggestion or a proposal, sharing as much of the context as possible in a precise and clear manner helps team come to decisions quickly in these fast-paced environments. I'm happy to like maybe unpack that a bit more. I spoke for too long. Yeah.
No, no, that's definitely great. Thanks for sharing that, because definitely from here we can learn a lot of things. And so I was about to ask you on that only. I mean, if you want to continue, then I can come up. So you can.
Yeah. Let's hear the question.
Okay. So I was just thinking, I mean, on this, like, uh, were there moments early on, like when showing that vulnerability felt risky, or maybe uh, even unmanly in those high stakes tech rooms?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great question. So I would say probably 15 or 16 years of that career. First, it started with, okay, I heard this Manager Tools podcast and they say you should be vulnerable. I'm like, okay, I'm already feel like I'm vulnerable. So I started being vulnerable. And it did boomerang several times. Like I was passed for promotions or I got great performance reviews, but I didn't get promoted into management and leadership as quickly as others. I used to struggle a lot. Like I used to kick myself. It looks like I'm doing all the right stuff. Manager tools told me and I'm doing it. Um, and I realized later on in reflection that that was not the right setting for me. And believe it or not, Avik, even today, 70-80% of the settings are not meritocratic, not vulnerable. It is, I'll use the word, quote unquote, toxic environment where the person who speaks the loudest, the person who is closest to the uh, execs is like promoted. There's like this familiarity bias. So I would say like I I felt several times whether I was doing the right thing or not, but naturally my style, my upbringing, my environment has been this is who you are, and I kept doing the same thing. I grew, I still grew, but not as fast as many of my peers. Um, until one, like two things. One, I intentionally looked at environments where there were high odds of the leadership is already vulnerable. The leadership, at least if they're not vulnerable, they understand that's a key skill. Um, or I was in a position where I could set the culture, and that's what is happening in the last couple of years. I'm part of the executive leadership team where I have a better chance of influencing the culture, both of the founding team as well as the rest of the organization. So I hope that answers your question. So uh, there were moments where
Exactly.
I felt like it's not working, whether I should give up, but I didn't want to give up. I'm, at least in that perspective, I'm an eternal optimist, I would say. And knock on wood, the companies I'm working for right now are close, if not perfect, in terms of celebrating that vulnerability and context.
Oh, lovely. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I think for a lot of men in the leadership, like we're taught that strength is silence or having all the answers. But you are saying is strength is being willing to say, I don't know, Let's figure it out together. So that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Early on, like an
Mm.
amateur manager, I thought like saying I don't know was good enough, right? Obviously, we are in a high stakes situation where millions and millions are at stake. I just can't say I don't know. Even though I knew that I could go offline and work with others to come back with a solution, there is more that I could do in the moment. So there's
Yeah.
two sides of the coin to that, right? So one, be as prepared as possible. So
Mm.
many times I'm put on the spot, but not really, right? So I can
Mm.
kind of like work backwards from a equation. So for example, we're raising money for a company right now, one of the companies. That means there will be intense stages of due diligence. So
Mm.
I will prepare as much as I possible even before they ask me a passport, right? So
Mm.
that's the preparation part. The set to so like I can be
Yeah.
vulnerable with an intention. And on the
Mm.
second side, if I don't know something, which is now usually 10, 20, 15%, right? That
Yeah.
I give them options. Like, I don't know the answer, but these are the three possible answers. This is like a timeline of give me 12 hours so I can quickly gather some people and come back with a more concrete answer. That wins battles, in my opinion, right? And it's working really well for me to like really close the loop, not just say I don't know and expect that somebody else will
Mm.
jump in and take over.
Exactly. Wow. That's amazing. Yes. And and like, let's talk about the mental health in the high stakes tech roles. You have walked the startup trenches, raised capital, scaled fast. So, what toll does that take on the leaders? I mean, what have you learned from protecting your own mental health?
Yeah, I the first time I was in that high stakes environment was when I started building my own startup. It's probably 12 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 13. I was in the corporate world where there are high stakes, but n- like it's not 80-hour weeks and constantly looking at runway, right? But the startup put me in that mode. I quickly realized again, like another realization that I just had my son. He was very young. Um, I needed to, when I started doing that, like intense startup mode, I realized I'm not my best self unless, I came back to my son and I could kiss him goodnight, my family, etc. Right. So it wasn't like a perfect balance, but I realized I will not perform well until there's some semblance of a balance in my life. It's not just a startup. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Although I realized it, this is my confession and vulnerability. I did not put that to action. I that startup I sold quickly for like a small exit.
Yeah.
I went into working for startups.
Mm-hmm.
There were ups and downs, but they were moments of toxicity I introduced by overworking.
Exactly.
That so yeah, this is maybe like a year and a half ago, actually 6 back, um, is when the big realization came for me. I lost my mom.
Okay.
Like many of us, I assumed that she would live forever, right? So we all assume our parents will live forever. She was 88 when she passed away, but it was a big shock for me. Like she was in bad health, etc. But I just assumed she would live forever. She's just such a powerful, wonderful mother. Um, but it put things in perspective for me in
Yeah.
what life is about. It's not just getting a great exit or infinitely scaling engineering teams. In fact, my realization is if I balance that with other aspects of my life, that actually radiates into my professional life. That was my hypothesis, and so far it's working very well in my fractional settings. I actually recently posted on LinkedIn just a tongue-in-cheek thing that said everybody should work 60 hours or more.
Yeah.
But I clarified that yes, you should, but part of that should be like two aspects to that are a large percentage of that should be about your learning and growth. And it could be technical skills, it could be leadership skills, it could be communication skills, where you're sharpening the saw, especially in the current world. And the second thing is, I heard a term called work life integration. So
Mhm.
I'm in Portland, Oregon, which is not a big town, which means
Okay.
by definition, I work a lot remotely.
Mm.
All of my current customers, clients are remote. So I'm sharing that because
Hmm.
I have to, and I do integrate my work life into my professional life. For example, I work 4 or 5 hours straight in the morning, then take a
Mhm.
break and, pick up my kids or help with their homework or go to the gym and play tennis. So, and then start like I work in 3 or 4 different phases throughout the day. It's not for everybody, but it works really well for me. So that way, even if my day extends to 12 or 14 hours, it's interspersed with work as well as things that I really love, like tennis or playing with my dog or taking him for a walk or helping my kids with homework. Um, I don't know how we got here, but that's the mental health aspect for me. Balance is the key word. It's a little bit tired, but it works really well for me to balance all these things.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you because obviously, I mean, as you mentioned it correctly, it varies person to person. But yes, uh, working with a break, uh, which I feel, I mean, for me also, it's kind of same. Uh, I also take breaks between the works, and this actually help me focus and help me I mean, think better when I come back from the break, and it helped me complete the work much faster. So again, yes, it depends person to person, but it works.
Mm. Yeah, for me, learning is one of those things that
Mm,
inspires me. And that's another realization when I was captive to a company, a startup. It was all about like output, output, output. And
yes.
I could not justify that. Now that I'm fractional, I completely can justify to myself because nobody's paying me for that learning, but the learning amplifies my professional outcomes 10x, 100x. And I can see that every day. Like I'll take a break. It's not a break. I'll take a break to go spend an hour and a half with my peer group. And the insights I get, those are like worth every penny 100 times over. So that's been like a part of 3 different peer groups. And I love that 10 hours or so I spend a month in sharing as well as learning from my peers on these cutting edge topics that are happening in the world. Nobody's paying me for that, but they're getting that value. These clients are getting that value.
Okay. Wow. Hmm. And I mean, also you have stepped into chaos like engineering bottlenecks, missed the ship dates, organization confusion, and turned into clarity. So, how much of that process is uh, technical problem solving versus the emotional leadership? So, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I'll say something somewhat controversial, but that's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost any technical problem can be solved with the
Mhm.
with the right set of people and right set of
Mhm.
mindset. So to answer more directly, close to 100% of of the issues are either human, our
Mhm.
team, or a process, right? So
Correct.
again, like when I first started stepping into leadership roles, I had a
Mhm.
pseudo mentor that I observed a lot and I learned from that person. Like any situation that happened, this was like high stakes situation. We were in a financial company
Mhm.
where millions and billions were at stake for our banking customers. He would come into the situation just very, very calm, and he would like
Mm,
go through a very similar process of unpacking, like, where's the problem?
mm,
When did it start? Look at the evidence of what all changed that could have caused this issue. Like, he had this framework that he could apply in every situation, and sure enough, like, very quickly we could get to the root cause, and then we
mhm,
would invite the right people, and they would solve the problem. Right? Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it took longer, but that simple framework, and most of all, like, the way he stayed calm is inspiring. Like,
mm,
even today, um, I I start by staying calm. Like, I've gone through so many hardships in my life. Like, okay, this is small compared to some of the hardships I've
mhm,
experienced. So
yeah,
that mindset helps me stay
mm,
like calm like an ocean. And it helps me. It helps the people around me, especially when in my leadership roles.
amazing. That really helps, I have to say. And I mean, this is really a great conversation, and I know time is constrained, but uh, like I have to say, thank you so much for showing us that leadership isn't just about shipping the products; it's all about shaping people. And I really love this. Um, you mentioned, yes, definitely, it's not a controversial thing. Definitely, every problem can be solved. Every tech problem can be solved for sure, and the best leaders, so they know vulnerability isn't the weakness; it's the wisdom. So, for everyone who is listening right now, if you are grinding in tech, building a startup, leading a team, or so remember that your mental health isn't just an optional, it's a foundational. And you can be high performing and human as well. So I'd suggest go follow Balki, uh, connect with him on LinkedIn, and check out the amazing work he's doing as a fractional CTO and the mentor. And I'll drop all the links into the show notes, but still I'll ask Balki, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the best medium to connect?
I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. Just linkedin.com/in/bulky. It's pretty easy to find me. I share 2 posts a week there, and very engaged there. So please reach out on LinkedIn. And if you're coming through this podcast, I would love to connect with you and continue the conversation there. And Avik, thank you so much for inviting me. It's one of the first podcasts I'm doing this year, so
Wow.
I'm excited that I got to do that with you. You are the personification of what you preach, so I really appreciate it. I listened to many of your podcasts before I joined, but like, you have that calm mindset that I appreciate and I can relate to. Thank you, Vic.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And to all the listeners, with this hope, until next time, keep showing up, keep stay strong, and remember that real masculinity makes space for humanity. So, this is your host, Avik, signing off from Mind Over Masculinity. See you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.